Listen to me. Your brain is not fixed. It's not broken. And it's definitely not your limit. It's your greatest tool. And most of you are letting it run on autopilot, recycling the same fear, the same doubt, the same story. But what if I told you you could rewire it? Right here, right now. What if the pain, the patterns, the procrastination weren't who you are, but just who you've been trained to be? You have the power to break that cycle. Not tomorrow, now. This moment is the doorway. The question is, are you ready to walk through it and take back control? You've been told a lie your entire life, that your brain is fixed, that your personality is set in stone, that how you think, how you react, how you feel, it's all just who you are. That's not the truth. The truth is, your brain is not a hardwired machine. It's a living, breathing, constantly evolving organism, and it responds to how you use it. You are not stuck with the mind you woke up with this morning. You are not limited to the emotions that have dominated your past. You are not condemned to repeat the same behaviors over and over again, just because that's what you've always done. Science calls it neuroplasticity, but you don't need a lab coat to understand what that means. It means you can rewire your brain. It means change is possible. Deep, lasting, permanent change. And not in 5 years. Now. Today. The only question is, will you take control of the wiring or let life continue doing it for you? You see, every time you think a thought, you fire a circuit. And every time you repeat that thought, that circuit gets stronger. It's like carving a groove into the brain. At first, it's soft, barely noticeable, but you repeat it enough and it becomes the default path. Easy to access, automatic. That's why anxiety feels so real. That's why self-doubt creeps in even when things are going well. Not because it's your destiny, but because you've rehearsed it, repeated it, memorized it. The brain doesn't know the difference between a truth and a lie. It only knows repetition. So if you've spent years telling yourself, I'm not good enough, then of course that belief feels true. Of course it does. It's been burned into your neural wiring. But here's the liberating truth. If you can wire it in, you can wire it out. This isn't positive thinking. This isn't about putting a fake smile on and pretending everything's okay. It's about consciously choosing which signals you want to strengthen in your brain. You can train your mind like a muscle. You don't go to the gym once and expect results, right? The same applies to your thinking. The first time you try to think differently, it feels uncomfortable, unnatural, like trying to write with your non-dominant hand. That's not a sign you're broken. It's a sign you're building. Most people quit right there. They say, this is just who I am. No, that's just who you've been practicing to be. The brain is waiting for new instructions. What fires together wires together. So when you pair a new belief with action, when you do the thing that scares you, when you speak up, when you say no, when you show up with courage, even when your mind is screaming otherwise, your brain starts to remap itself. New connections form. Old ones weaken. That's not metaphor, that's biology. That's your nervous system evolving in real time, but it requires intention. You can't expect change without attention. You must interrupt the old pattern before it becomes your identity. You have to catch yourself mid-thought and say, no, that's not who I am anymore. You have to replace the story. Instead of, I always procrastinate, you train your mind to say, I take bold action even when I don't feel like it. Instead of, I'm too emotional, you wire in, I channel my emotions into strength. Will it feel true the first time? Probably not. Will it feel real the 100th time? you better believe it. This is not a passive process. This is the most active, powerful, personal transformation you can make. Every single day, you are either reinforcing an old identity or constructing a new one. There is no neutral. If you don't program your brain, the world will do it for you. Social media will do it. Trauma will do it. Your past will do it. But you're here because you're ready to take control of that programming. You're ready to rewire. So start now. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for the perfect mood. Don't wait for clarity. Your brain isn't waiting. It's responding to everything you do. You can reshape it by what you focus on, what you repeat, and what you emotionally connect to. That's the secret. That's the science. And that's the power you've had all along. Your thoughts are not just passing ideas floating through your mind. They are the architects of your reality. Everything you experience in life is filtered through the lens of your thinking. What you dwell on, what you give energy to, what you consistently focus your mind around. That is what begins to shape your emotions, your actions, your outcomes, and ultimately your identity. Most people don't understand how powerful their thoughts are because they've never slowed down enough to become aware of them. They live on autopilot. Same thoughts, same emotions, same behaviors, day after day, month after month, year after year. And they wonder why nothing changes. But when you start observing your thoughts, you'll realize they are not just noise. They're commands. Every single thought is a signal your brain and body are reacting to. Your nervous system doesn't just hear the thought, it obeys it. You keep thinking you're not good enough, you'll feel insecurity. You'll act with hesitation. You'll attract situations that reinforce that lie, not because it's true, but because you've made it familiar. The brain is a survival machine. It doesn't care if your thoughts are empowering or destructive. It just wants what's familiar. And what's familiar becomes your reality. That's how powerful this is. You can literally think your way into fear. You can think your way into paralysis. But here's the shift. You can also think your way into strength, into clarity, into massive transformation, if you become intentional with what you feed your mind. There's a law that most people don't know they're living under. It's the law of focused attention. Whatever you focus on consistently, you feel. Whatever you feel consistently, you believe. Whatever you believe, you act on. And whatever you act on creates your life. That's how someone can focus on lack and never see abundance, even when it's all around them. That's how someone can focus on what's missing and miss everything they already have. If your mind is a spotlight, where are you aiming it? Are you aiming it at fear, self-doubt, regret, past pain? Or are you aiming it toward growth, vision, gratitude, and potential? That's your power. That's the difference between people who are stuck and people who elevate. The most dangerous thing you can ever say is, that's just the way I think. No, that's just the way you've been conditioned to think. And anything conditioned can be reconditioned. You weren't born afraid to fail. You weren't born thinking you're not enough. That stuff was downloaded into your system through pain, repetition, culture, experiences, but you get to choose whether you keep running that program or rewrite it. And the rewrite starts by taking full ownership of what you allow to live in your mind. It's not enough to just think positive. That's surface level. You've got to install new thought patterns at the emotional level. Because when a thought is paired with emotion, it becomes a belief. That's when it sticks. You can say, I'm confident all day, but until you emotionally link to what confidence feels like, your body won't believe it, your actions won't reflect it. So instead of just repeating empty affirmations, ask yourself, what would I think if I already believed in myself? What would I focus on if I already felt powerful? What questions would I ask if I trusted my ability to figure it out? Because your focus is a muscle, and what you focus on, you feel. Every time. Most people are not suffering from a lack of intelligence. They're suffering from a lack of mental direction. Their minds are spinning with unfiltered thoughts, unconscious narratives that go unquestioned. But your freedom begins the moment you challenge those narratives. Just because you thought it doesn't mean it's true. Just because it feels real doesn't mean it's permanent. That thought that says you'll never change, that voice that says you'll fail again, it's not you, it's a mental loop you've rehearsed. And you can break that loop today by choosing where to aim your focus, by upgrading the questions you ask, by deciding to live from a place of vision rather than history. Because when you control your thoughts, you begin to control your life. Your emotions follow your focus, your actions follow your emotions, and your results follow your actions. It all begins in the space between your ears. That's the battlefield. That's where the real war is won or lost. Not out there, in here. And if you master that, nothing can stop you. Not your past, not your fear, not your circumstances. Because you've learned the greatest skill of all, directing the mind instead of letting the mind direct you. Let me tell you something most people never realize. Information doesn't change lives. Emotion does. You can read every book, watch every video, attend every seminar, and still go back to the same patterns. Why? Because knowing something intellectually is not the same as embodying it emotionally. The brain doesn't rewire from knowledge alone. It rewires through intensity, through experience, through feeling. Emotion is the glue that cements change into your nervous system. Without emotion, knowledge fades. But when you link emotion to a decision, to a moment, to a behavior, that's when change becomes permanent. Think back to the most defining moments of your life. Were they purely logical, or were they charged with deep emotion? Pain, joy, fear, love, heartbreak, inspiration. You remember those moments not just because they happened, but because they left an imprint. They created a neural pathway that was soaked in emotion, and that's why it stuck. The brain pays attention when emotion is present. That's how it knows what matters. And this is the power you have. You can use emotion to wire in the new patterns you want, but most people are trying to change their life by thinking their way through it. That's like trying to ignite a fire with cold logic. You need heat. You need energy. You need emotional leverage. You want to rewire your brain? Get emotionally involved in your growth. Don't just write goals. Feel them. Don't just say you want change. Link massive meaning to why you must change now. Your nervous system will only respond when your why is stronger than your pattern. When your reason to shift is bigger than your excuse to stay the same. That's when you move. That's when you break through. You can't casually hope for transformation. You have to demand it with your heart, your soul, your full being. Pain is a powerful motivator when used correctly. Most people try to avoid pain, suppress it, numb it, but pain, when understood, can become the launch pad to your evolution. If you allow yourself to truly feel the cost of staying the same, what it's doing to your life, your relationships, your health, your purpose, then that pain becomes fuel. It's not your enemy, it's your ally. Because when pain becomes unbearable, we act. That's why breakthroughs often come after breakdowns. It's because the emotion reaches a boiling point where the brain says, enough, I'm done living like this. But it's not just pain that wires the brain, it's vision too. You can use joy, passion, hope, and excitement to condition your new identity. Visualize the future you with emotion, not just clarity. Feel the pride of becoming that version of yourself. Feel the peace, the power, the confidence. When you consistently flood your system with those emotions, your brain begins to believe it's already real. And what it believes, it begins to expect. And what it expects, it starts acting on. This is how emotion becomes a tool, not just for motivation, but for actual rewiring of the mind. There's a reason people go to intense events or retreats and leave feeling unstoppable. Now, the thing is, they won't. They can become it's because those environments are emotionally charged. They push you beyond your comfort zone. They tap into your deepest desires and fears. That emotional intensity creates new neural patterns in hours that would otherwise take years. Now, you don't need a stage or a crowd to create that. You just need to raise your emotional state when you're doing the work, when you journal, when you meditate, when you visualize, when you speak affirmations. Don't do it flat. Bring intensity. Move your body. Speak with power. Anchor the emotion. That's how you train your brain to believe something new. If you want your mind to shift, you must create moments that matter. Moments where the old version of you dies a little and the new one begins to take hold. That moment only happens when emotion is present. Cold logic won't shift your identity. You have to feel it in your gut. You have to engage your heart. You have to move your body in alignment with that new story. That's when your nervous system says, this is who I am now. So the next time you find yourself trying to make a change and it's not sticking, ask yourself this: am I emotionally invested, or am I just going through the motions? Because the motions won't rewire anything, but the emotion will rewire everything. Most people don't realize this, but your brain is being wired every single day, even when you're not trying to. Every conversation you have, every piece of content you consume, every place you spend time in, it's all shaping your nervous system, your belief system, your identity. Your environment is not neutral. It's either reinforcing the person you want to become, or it's keeping you chained to the one you're trying to outgrow. That's why some people stay stuck for years. They keep trying to change their mindset, but they're living in the same environment that created their old one. You cannot plant a new seed in toxic soil and expect it to thrive. Your surroundings are programming your brain constantly. Who you spend time with, their energy, their language, their habits, all of it seeps into you. If you're around people who complain, who play the victim, who shrink from responsibility, your brain begins to normalize that. You may not even realize it, but it starts happening silently. Your standards begin to lower, your dreams begin to feel unrealistic, your energy starts to match theirs, and it's not because you're weak, it's because your brain is doing its job. It's adapting. It's mirroring what it's most exposed to. The same goes for your digital environment. What are you feeding your mind? Is your social media filled with people living with intention, discipline, purpose? Or is it filled with distraction, drama, and noise? Because you become what you consume. If you're watching negativity every day, it wires your brain toward fear, toward cynicism. If you're always absorbing mindless content, you wire yourself for short-term pleasure and long-term regret. It doesn't matter if you say it's just entertainment. Your brain doesn't know the difference. It just records the repetition. And repetition is how identity is formed. You want to rewire your brain? Then design your environment like your life depends on it, because it does. Surround yourself with people who challenge you, not just cheer for you. People who are living at a higher level, who don't tolerate excuses, who remind you of your standards when you forget. You need to be in rooms where your old self feels uncomfortable. That discomfort is growth trying to happen. If you're always the smartest, strongest, most disciplined person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Growth requires pressure, friction, and exposure to something greater than what you've known. And it's not just about people, it's about space. Your physical space affects your mental clarity. Cluttered room, cluttered mind. If your environment is full of chaos, you will operate in chaos. But if your space is clean, intentional, inspiring, your mind reflects that. What do you see when you wake up every day? What's on your walls? What's in your line of sight when you work, when you eat, when you rest? These aren't small things. These are constant cues being sent to your brain about what matters, about what's possible, about who you are. Your phone, your laptop, your habits. These are also your environment. If your phone is the first thing you grab when you wake up and the last thing you touch before sleep, it's not just a habit, it's a training program. You're training your brain to live in reaction, not creation. You're waking up to other people's agendas instead of anchoring your own. Rewiring your brain requires boundaries. It requires you to take control of what comes in, because what comes in is what comes out. Garbage in, garbage out. But power in, power out. Wisdom in, wisdom out. Clarity in, clarity out. And let's talk about energy. The energy of a room, the vibe of a conversation, the feeling you carry in certain environments. It's not imaginary. Your nervous system is constantly reading that input. You walk into a space full of tension or negativity, and you feel it instantly. You don't need words. Your body already knows. Now think about that happening day after day, week after week. That input becomes your baseline. But flip it around. Step into high energy, high standard environments consistently, and your identity begins to elevate. You start to expect more from yourself, not because someone told you to, but because your nervous system was exposed to something higher. So if you want to rewire your brain, you must rewire your environment. You cannot rise above the level of what you constantly tolerate. Make your surroundings a mirror of your future, not your past. Fill your life with what aligns, not just what's familiar. The unfamiliar is where the upgrade lives. Every time you choose an environment that stretches you, that calls you forward, you're not just changing where you are, you're changing who you are becoming. Change doesn't come from a single thought. It comes from repetition. One moment of clarity won't rewrite your patterns. One spark of motivation won't build a new identity. Lasting transformation is built through consistent repetition, again and again, until the new you becomes automatic. Most people think they need more motivation. No, what they need is conditioning. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your habits. And repetition is the force that turns habits into identity. The brain doesn't change because you want it to. It changes because you train it to. Every time you repeat a behavior, every time you speak a new belief out loud, every time you act in alignment with the person you want to become, you are reinforcing a neural pathway. At first, it's weak. It's uncomfortable. Your old mind will fight it. It'll whisper, "This isn't you. This feels fake. Go back to what's easy." But that voice is not your truth. It's your pattern trying to survive. And you break it through disciplined repetition. You wire it in until the voice gets quieter. You wire it in until the new you becomes louder than the old one. This is how you recondition your nervous system. The mistake most people make is expecting change to feel good all the time. That's not how growth works. It's messy, it's repetitive, it's uncomfortable, but repetition is not punishment, it's preparation. Every rep is a vote for your future. Every time you override that urge to quit, you're casting a vote for your new identity. Every time you show up, even when it's inconvenient, you're training your brain, this is who I am now. That's what builds confidence, not empty affirmations, not waiting to feel ready. Confidence comes from doing hard things again and again until hard becomes normal. You want to think like a champion? Then repeat what champions do. They don't negotiate with discipline. They don't ask, do I feel like it? They've trained themselves through repetition. Every day they install the same message into their mind, the same standard into their habits. Not because they're lucky, but because they've conditioned themselves for excellence. That's available to you too. But you've got to commit to repetition long after the excitement fades. That's where the real shift begins. Not on day 1, but on day 30, day 90, day 300, when no one's watching and you show up anyway. This is why the gym works. Not because of one workout, but because of the compounding effect. You don't get stronger from lifting once. You get stronger by showing up when it's cold, when you're tired, when you don't want to, and doing the reps anyway. Your brain works the same way. Mental fitness requires reps. Want to think more positively? Start the reps. Want to speak with confidence? Practice daily, even if your voice shakes. Want to become emotionally resilient? Sit with discomfort on purpose until it loses its grip on you. That's repetition. That's rewiring. Repetition is not about perfection. It's about persistence. You're going to fall. You're going to miss some days. That's not failure. That's part of the process. The brain doesn't need you to be flawless. It needs you to be consistent. Even when you mess up, if you get back on track quickly, you're still conditioning strength. You're teaching your mind, I don't quit, I recover. And that mindset becomes the muscle that carries you through storms. Repetition also builds familiarity, and familiarity creates safety. The first time you speak up for yourself, your heart might race, your voice might crack, but do it 20 times, 50 times, 100 times, and suddenly it's who you are. The brain stops sending fear signals because the pattern is no longer new. It's now a known behavior. This is how the impossible becomes possible. Not through magic, through exposure, through showing your brain over and over that you are capable of more. And here's the truth. Repetition is happening in your life whether you realize it or not. You're either repeating your limitations or you're repeating your greatness. You're either rehearsing weakness or installing power. There is no standing still. Every thought, every habit, every decision, it's training your mind to move in one direction. The question is, are you repeating what disempowers you or what unleashes you? So if you want to rewire your brain, don't just chase motivation, build rituals. Don't just hope for a breakthrough. Build the repetition that leads to it. Do the work even when it's boring. Repeat the new story until it feels like truth. Show up every day like your future depends on it, because it does. And one day, without even realizing it, you'll wake up and see you didn't just change your life. You rewire who you are. You can visualize all day long. You can read every book, write down your goals, journal your affirmations, but until you take real physical action, your brain doesn't rewire. Nothing becomes permanent in the nervous system until it's followed by motion. Action is the bridge between information and transformation. It's the signal to your brain that says, this isn't just a thought anymore. This is who I am becoming. You don't change by thinking differently alone. You change by behaving differently. The mind learns best through movement, through experience, through stepping into what's uncomfortable and proving to itself that it's capable of more than what it believed. You can't just hope your way into a new identity. You have to act it into existence. Most people wait to feel confident before they speak up. Wait to feel ready before they start. Wait to feel strong before they commit. But that's not how the brain evolves. Confidence is not a prerequisite, it's a result. It's a byproduct of repeated, courageous action. The brain doesn't trust words, it trusts evidence. It watches what you do. So when you act in alignment with a new standard, even if you're scared, even if it's messy, your nervous system starts to recalibrate. It says, maybe this is who we are now. And with enough repetition, it accepts that identity. You want to rewire your brain? Then stop waiting for the perfect moment. It's not coming. Stop waiting for the fear to disappear. It won't, not at first. Action is what teaches the fear that it no longer controls you. You can read about